Hello and welcome. This is going to be just a quick tutorial game so you can kind of see the general game flow of the Final Fantasy Z card game. Um, I am playing what I call the Cat Starter Deck Cloud Era Tifa, and my wife Misuzu, she is playing Zack Fair Renoa. Each of us have a different limit break, which is nice. So hopefully we'll get to see one of these this game. I am using Knights of the Round, which is very flavorful if you played Final Fantasy VII, and then Misuzu is using Meteor, which is kind of just a big nuclear attack. I've rolled a 5, she's rolled a 2, so I'm going to go ahead and take the first turn, which she gave me the arrow there. Let's see here. I'm going to try to drop the commentary so I can actually play her. But if there's something I feel that needs explained, I will do that. But otherwise, from here on out, we're just going to play as if we were just playing a casual game, which I am going to... discard one of these and rejuvenate one of these. Go ahead. Your turn. Okay. Nice. So Misuzu has chosen not to enter combat. She's rejuvenated water to the bottom of her deck. Now, if you're confused about why there's a summon card played in the planning step, let's go ahead and look at Renoa Heartlily. She is a black mage hero, and her constant power says you may equip summon cards to Renoa as if they are equipment cards. Renoa gains their constant. So she kind of has this effect that mirrors the game Final Fantasy VIII that she hails from. That in that game, the main characters can use the summons to kind of give them new powers, and that's exactly what she's doing in the card game to kind of mirror that effect as well. So now, Renoa has the constant effect. Characters cannot change rows. So we're kind of locked in right now. So let's go ahead and get into my turn. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to play a setup I drew here and then pass and rejuvenate. Let's discard this guy and rejuvenate this. So she takes her turn here. One thing you'll probably notice as we go through this game is largely a game of, well, I rejuvenated one and I did 4 damage, and then they rejuvenated 2, but they did 6 damage back to me, and it goes back and forth like that quite often, where you and your opponent will be fairly even until one of you makes a big play or has a big counter to what your opponent's trying to do. There we go. So now it's going to be my turn. Looks like she has chosen to rejuvenate Cold Snap into her deck. 1, 2, 3. I've got another setup, so I'm going to go ahead and put that into play. Discard another Holy and rejuvenate a double slash and send it to her. That hand was probably almost good enough to enter combat with, but I would have been at 3 cards and she would have been at 4, and I don't really know if that's a chance I want to take. But whatever she has in her hand, she is not willing to enter combat just yet. So it seems like it's going to be on me to take an initiative here. 1, 2, 3. Well, what's nice about this is she is just letting me fill up my board with all kinds of useful setups here. I'm actually going to discard that Carbuncle and rejuvenate him to get him back into my deck. While I send it to her and she thinks about what she wants to do, I'll mention Carbuncle is kind of an interesting summon card because he says if this card is taken as damage, you may place it into play, which will allow you to use a summon after taking damage. And he's really good because he's free. He's the only summon card that's absolutely free. But then also, he gets to choose a card in your discard pile and rejuvenate it, which is just, it's really good when you only have 4 cards in your deck floating around at any given moment. And here we go. Now we're just dumping board cards. I'm going to go ahead and rejuvenate 2-prong charge and send it to her. So we're both just building up a huge board here. And, in games like this game is meant to be a best 2 out of 3 game. So there are some combats or some games where you just build up a massive board and you run your opponent over and the game's over. And okay, and she's choosing to enter combat here. So, obviously we both have a ton of effects in play. So this is probably going to be a really long one. 1, 2, 3. All right, what are we starting off with? Uh-oh. So she is paying the 4 cost on remove. That's what the 4 cards that just entered the discard pile were for. So she is playing remove, so I'm going to have to deal with her attacks being unpreventable for the remainder of combat. He also has, if I allow this attack to hit, she's going to draw a card. I have to make that decision now if that's something I want to deal with or not. But I think I am willing to let this hit. 6 damage. Okay. So let's take it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Joke's on you. I can't use endurance if I don't flip it over. So let's go ahead and discard those cards. I've taken the damage. And now she's going to get her hit effect, which lets her draw a card. Okay. So that did deal staggering damage. Do you want to use any staggering damage effects?
I will stagger Aerith.
Okay. She's going to stagger Aerith. And because I've been staggered, I'm going to gain 1 limit break, which I had one already. I think I just forgot to reset that from doing the tutorial videos, but I'll just leave that there. And then we're going to figure out what we want to do from there. Let's just do a quick look. So she is up 3 cards right now. I'm going to go ahead and use a Firebolt Blade. So this card, if you're in the front, you could pay 1 cost to make damage removed. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this will be an attack, a physical attack for 4 damage removed if it's hit. So this is the equivalent of banished damage in Dragon Ball Z. Okay. And then hit, if I'm in the front, I could pay 1 cost to make her discard a card from her hand. So you choose a card in your hand and discard it. Okay. And now she is going to breathe a deep sigh of what the heck just happened to me. Hopefully she only has 1 black materia in her deck for this tutorial game. But we will find out. Okay.
I cannot advance. I gain 1 limit break.
Yep. So she's right. She cannot advance because Shiva is in play, but she can gain that very precious, very useful limit break. Let's go ahead. I'm going to use... That's kind of neither here nor there, is it? I'm going to go ahead and use Tifa to discard a card to draw a card. I'm going to discard this equipment card and draw a card. Cool. Okay. Each of her characters are going to gain 1 experience, and then she is in the front, so she's going to get her floating effect. Her party cannot be staggered. So what she did to me and Aerith, I will not be able to return the favor. But I will stop this attack. I'm going to use Barrier. So Aerith is in the back, so I have access to this card. Back stops a physical attack. And then I'm going to... It does have the white magic symbol. Rejuvenate 1 when you use a white magic card. So we're going to go ahead and resolve that and put the block in the discard pile, and then it'll be my action, which I'm going to play Blade Beam now, and we're going to discard this Black Materia card, and this is going to be a physical attack for 4 damage. Okay. She ain't got no endurance in this deck. So I'll go ahead and... This card is one of the few in the game that says remove after use. So we're going to go ahead and discard Blade... remove Blade Beam, and it will be Masuzu's action. Okay. She's getting another... Oh, I forgot to mention. Can you pull Black Materia back out? I'm sorry. So this brings up a great point that was not brought up in the tutorial videos. So Black Materia, most board cards, this being planning step cards, your setup equipment cards, say in their parenthetical text, when this card is discarded or removed from play by an opponent's effect, gain 1 limit break. So when your opponent staggers you, you gain a limit break, and if your opponent fights your board by removing it or discarding it, you will also gain a limit break. So Masuzu will actually be at 3 limit break after this card triggers. So, yeah. So we'll go ahead and put that back. And then you used Fury, so now it's my action. I'm going to go ahead and use a Dolphin Kick here. Rejuvenate. Barrier, because I'm using a white magic card. It's got the white magic symbol. Aerith, rejuvenate 1 when you use a white magic card. And this is going to be a physical attack for 5 damage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
There you go. And I'll go ahead and shuffle into deck after use with Dolphin Kick. And now it will be Masuzu's turn. So it also cannot be modified. So this card can't be modified, so it's only going to deal its base damage, 6 damage. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that one with Reflect. And I'm going to resolve Reflex effects, which is... So, and this is a perfect example. She used her limit break, so she paid 3 limit break, and now the card is being used. It's an attack, so I'm going to block it with Reflect, and then choose a card in my discard pile and rejuvenate it. I've kind of got a setup here where Intervention is sitting in there. When this card is rejuvenated, equip a card from your discard pile. So I'm going to grab that and put it on the bottom of my deck. and I'm going to choose my Buster Sword that's sitting in my discard pile, and I'm going to equip it to Cloud. So now Buster Sword is here. While equipped, attack cards deal +1 damage. When you level up, draw a card and shuffle this card into your deck. Now there's a distinction here that I have to make with Cloud and Tifa because they both are physical attackers, and Tifa's card says Tifa only. And this kind of gets into the weeds a little bit with these cards. Actually, now that I think about it, even Reflect has the white magic symbol, so I'm going to rejuvenate one for Aerith, and then put this in my discard pile before I go on. But Cloud and Tifa both have the attack symbol, but this card is equipped to Cloud, and it only modifies damage that Cloud performs, any attacks that Cloud performs. And this is a distinction that certain decks will make. You choose the character that is performing the attack, but also the character that you are targeting. So if I say I'm targeting Rinoa and I deal staggering damage, I am staggering Rinoa. Or if I am staggering Zack if I attacked him. And just the same, Tifa she is the only one that can perform Dolphin Kick. This is a Tifa only card. So she cannot get the +1 modifier from the Buster Sword. That's all a long way of just saying that. So I'm sorry for going in that huge tangent, but I just want to make sure that people who are learning this game know that that's a pretty big divergence from Dragon Ball Z if you're coming from that game. So I'm going to go ahead. I stopped that attack. I'm going to now play this. I'm using a white magic card. I'm going to go ahead and put Reflect on the bottom of my deck. A physical attack for 5 damage.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay. And then I'll shuffle Dolphin Kick into my deck.
I pass.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do Cloud's Power, which is to gain 2 experience. And then if you have leveled up this combat, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an equipment card and equip it. I have not leveled up yet, so I don't get that second part of the effect. It's now your action.
I am going to lower your experience by 2.
Okay, so Renoa's power is kind of a inverse of his. She lowers my experience too. So let's go ahead and do that. That was her action. So I'm now going to use Haste. It's one of the best cards in the game, and it's so simple. It just says level up one of your characters. So I'm going to go ahead and level up Cloud with this card and rejuvenate one with Aerith because it is a white magic card. And then Cloud says, Buster Sword says, when you level up, you may draw a card and shuffle this card into your deck. So I'm going to draw a card and then shuffle. And Cloud will get reset, so he could be used again. Okay, she's passing. I'm going to play Confrontation and see what this last card in her hand she's holding is. Oh, yeah, well, shuffle that into your deck, please. This card. Okay, I'll do Cloud, gain 2 experience, and if you have leveled up this combat, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an equipment card and place it into play equipped. So I've got the Genji Glove was revealed there. Oh, and this is a great time to talk about, she just lowered my experience too, but let's say she didn't, and I was sitting at 2 experience, I use Haste, I level up, my experience doesn't reset if you use a level up effect like that. So you would level up and be at 2 experience, and then you could gain 2 more with this power and you'd be sitting at 4. But she has Rinoa, which lowered my experience too. That point's moot. I just want to explain that in case you get into a similar situation in a future game. So I equip the Genji Glove with Cloud's power. It's Misuzu's turn. Okay, I'm gonna pass as well. So at the end of combat, we talked about this before. Misuzu, what are you gonna do? So she's going to remove her floating effect from the game, and then discard the summon card. Um, and that happens at the end of every combat. And then Cloud and Zack both have a unique at the end of combat effect where Zack can play an equipment card at the end of combat, and Cloud actually, if he's equipped, he can gain 1 limit break. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Reset all my characters, and then she's going to pass the turn to me. Yep, so she gets her black materia back. 1, 2, 3. I've got some cards here. So the Buster Sword is not Cloud only, because it had to be available for Zack and maybe even other future characters to use it in the series. So you can actually equip this to any character, which is nice. And then I'm gonna go ahead and play my setup, and I'm gonna hang on to the other card in my hand and rejuvenate this 2-prong charge and send it back to her. Actually, I'm sorry. I just realized the equipment card I have. Too busy talking about stuff. The Genji Glove, if you're familiar with Black Smoothness Drill from Dragon Ball Z, is kind of a spiritual recreation of that card, but it's got a pretty hefty cost. You can hold 2 cards at the end of your turn. However, at the start of your discard step, you have to remove the top card of your deck, and then you can continue on with your rejuvenation step. And that will let you hold 2 cards into your opponent's turn. Okay, so I got some planning step cards here. I'm going to go ahead and dump those on the board here. I'll remove the top and rejuvenate a confrontation from my hand and send it to Misuzu. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and draw 1, 2, 3. So she is paying the cost for Ifrit. 7 damage. I'm going to go ahead and stop that with Shell.
Oh no.
And rejuvenate 1 for using a white magic card. Now I'm going to go ahead and play my own summon card, Ramuh, and I'm going to use 2 limit break to reduce it, pay 2 of his cost, and then the remainder will be off the top of my deck, the remaining 2 from the total of 4. So this is going to be a magic attack dealing 5 damage. And again, this Buster Sword only affects attacks performed by Tifa. So Ramuh is out here performing his own Judgment Bolt. So unless you have a character that is transformed into Ramuh some way, which is, I'm really realizing now, a mechanic I haven't covered, which I'll cover in another video later. Ramuh is performing his own attack, so it's not modified by equipment cards on your other characters. Anyway. Okay, you're dead. Alright, well, that was a decent tutorial game. I think we had every card type played. Every event. I don't know if an event was played, actually, but attack, magic, summon cards, a limit break was played. Costs were used, rejuvenation was used. Yeah, so I think a little bit of everything was played. Hopefully this game was enough of a primer to get you into it and supplement with the other module videos we did. And again, if you have any questions at all, message me on my Discord and I'll be happy to kind of walk you through some of the more complicated things. What I was talking about with transformation I'll go ahead and just do this real quick. I'm going to reset the game and load a deck that includes transformation in it. As you can see, I've got an absolute ton of decks in here that I've tested. So let's find one of my personal favorites. Transformation decks is going to be this Clive Joshua deck. And both Clive and Joshua say transform on them. So transform is just the same as playing a summon card. And if you read the rules, this is outlined pretty well in my rules document that's posted in the game rules Discord chat. So you would just play Phoenix on top of Joshua, because that's who he transforms into, for the cost, which is going to be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Joshua is now this Phoenix character. It's almost like a level 2, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball Z. But the nice thing is summons cannot typically gain experience on themselves, where a transformed character can. So you could gain 4 experience, 5 experience, and level up and use this big, hefty Flames of Rebirth attack again. And while I'm talking about transformations and Ifrits, flip back over, this deck in particular, if you see this Ifrit Risen card in your deck builder, how you use it is you transform Ifrit, Clive into Ifrit, and Joshua into Phoenix, and then you get this giant Godzilla monster that then you can attack from there. So that's been our little demo with some added tidbits, and we're going to call it there. You have a great day.